Hey guys, this is Joey Troy. Today we're going to be doing a video about the ASIAIR Plus. This is the Rockchip version. We're going to go ahead and root this, reload the operating system, and then we can install Alpaca Bridge, Astroberry, Indy, you name it, we can do it. So with that, let's get started. So last week I did a video about the Stella Vita and basically tearing this down and reloading the operating system on this. Because these are Raspberry Pis, these are much easier to work on. The issue with the ASIAIR Plus 256 gig is that these are basically Rockchips. So Rockchips work a lot different. There's like special bootloader mode, it's called the loader mode, and then there's also a mask ROM mode. If we get into mask ROM mode, it's a lot of trouble to get it to work. So I basically designed a script which will root this, like I said, and then essentially it just reloads the operating system. It's easy, we don't have to crack the case. As long as you follow the instructions, again, this is at your own discretion. So if something happens, there is information within the repository on GitHub. We'll explain how to basically fix it if it's like really, really bad, but I'm not going to show that in this video. It's going to take too long, and I really am trying to keep this one short. So basically I have the ASIAIR Plus. This is the Rockchip version. Again, it just says ASIAIR Plus. We don't need to open the case or anything like that. I've got a network cable plugged in, so it's on my local network, and then I've got my power cord. So all we want to do is just turn it on. Okay, it's booting up. So as you'll see, the power ports are coming up, and it's going to make that wonderful beep noise here in just a second to let us know that it's online. Sorry about that. There we go. Wonderful beep. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to hop into the iPad real quick. Okay, I'm on my iPad right now, and I'm going to go ahead and open up ASIAIR, and then basically enter the device. So at this point, I'm just, there's no any major settings here. So I'm basically connected to the ASIAIR at this point. As you can see up in the top corner, I'm on version 2.5.2. We're just going to go ahead and hit the little I button over here for the info. And then under the info button, we're just going to go to reset firmware. And we're going to go ahead and reset it back to whatever the lowest version we can go to. So it's just going to go ahead and reset here real quick. Okay, it's all done. So basically the ASIAIR is going to boot back up, and it's going to want to update the firmware. So if I hit next on here, it's just going to say that it's on version 9.9.7. And it wants to go to 13.4. At this point, we can go ahead and close out of the iPad app, and we're going to go ahead and swing over to the Windows computer. Okay, we're on our VMware box, and on here, I basically have a console window open and then basically a web browser. This is Debian Linux 13 Trixie. So essentially, we're just going to swing over to github.com/open-astro. We're going to scroll down. We're going to click on the rk-flashtool, and then we're going to scroll down. And essentially, we're going to go to the install section. So we're just going to copy it. We can click on our that center mouse button there and paste, and then hit enter. It's essentially going to download any components that you may not have installed. Okay, once that's all done, the next thing that you want to do is click on the install dev rules. I'm going to go ahead and paste it, hit enter. Then we're going to scroll down, and then in here, we're going to go ahead and run the install script. So go ahead and just say yes, hit enter. And then at this point, what it's going to do is it's going to connect to the Rockchip ASIAIR Plus. Again, it has to be plugged in with the network cable on the same network as this VM is set up on. And then essentially what it does is it essentially scans the network ports, it jailbreaks it. I'll scroll up here and show you everything that it does. It's done so far. So essentially it scans the network for it, it finds it, and then essentially it looks for all the open ports that are available, and then it basically pushes the payload and then basically roots the device. You'll notice here that my port is 22. I've already rooted this device, but it works just fine out of the gate. So essentially what it does is it finds port 4360 and then basically does a payload. If ZWO in the future makes changes to it, it shouldn't matter because again, we're reverting the firmware, so it should be okay. So once it pushes the payload, it just resets the Pi password to Raspberry Pi. And then at that point, it basically runs DD locally on on the ASIAIR Plus, and then basically pushes all the partition tables from the Rockchip back to our VM. So this takes a minute to do, but let me jump in here real quick to the file manager, or Dolphin. In here, you're going to go to the rk-flashtool folder, and then in here, you're going to have an ASIAIR backup folder. Once this is all done, we're just going to back up that folder, keep it somewhere safe if you want, keep it in your VM. I would probably recommend putting it onto a thumb drive or an external drive or your NAS or whatever you have, so that way you can always restore if you ever need to go back. Essentially, all this tool is doing is it's essentially it's rooting the device, backing up the device so that we have a secure backup of the device. And that's the whole reason for the root, is so that we have a backup. Once it's all backed up, at that point, we have the capability of then replacing the partition table. So essentially what I've done is I've created a Debian Linux Trixie 13 64-bit image, because the ASIAIR Plus is a 64-bit Cortex processor. And then essentially that Debian version of Linux has all the drivers already pre-configured, everything's already set up, it's got all the power ports, the USB network, the whole shebang. And then essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to essentially replace the partition table for P7, and then we're going to install our Debian OS on top of it. Now, the catch to this is that you can't just go and install any old OS that you want on it. You have to use it the way that we have it set up because of the Rockchip. Rockchip has a U-boot, special boot capability on the device, and it's really hard to back engineer that and spend a lot of time on it. I was trying to do a quick setup so we could just get access to the device and install other Astro softwares and have a clean slate without the ZWO software. So essentially what this is going to allow us to do is any Astro software that offers an APT repository to be able to download like deb files will work on this. So Alpaca Bridge will work on it, which is what I've created. It'll work with Astroberry. It'll work with Indy. It'll work with Indigo. And then eventually, I'm guessing the new project that's really exciting right now that everybody's talking about is the Pins and Touch and Stars. They're going to probably release a deb file eventually. Okay, here we go. So we'll stop for a second. It's downloading the image. So essentially what it's doing is it's downloading our version of Linux, and then basically it's going to decompress it. So it's only about 240 megs or something like that, 240.46 megs to be exact. So essentially what it does is it downloads it, and then it's going to extract it. And then what we're going to do is we have to put the Rockchip into loader mode, and I'll show you how to do that here in a sec once it's done, because it'll prompt us on the next thing once it decompresses the image. Okay, there we go. So at this point, we're ready to reload. So in here, I'm going to pause the video, but essentially we have to power off the ASIAIR, so I'm going to just turn it off. All right, it's off. And then let me see if I got a little bit of distance here so I can just bring it into the image here. So in here, at the front of your ASIAIR Plus, you're going to have your little reset button. I'm sorry, my hands are backwards. So you've got your reset button here. So as long as you have your power port plugged in, what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the reset button. So let me get the right finger here. It's so backwards. So, hold it in and then basically turn on the power. And it shouldn't blink, and I don't think it did. Let me check here. No, it didn't. Okay, so that didn't work. So let me do it again. So again, hold down the reset button, and while you're holding it down, power it up. Okay, and it should be solid like that. So you should see the lights are solid. Nope. Okay, let me just unplug this whole thing. Let me power cycle it a few times. It's a pain in the butt to get this thing into the loader mode. So I'm just going to hold down the reset button and then turn it on and then let off. Okay, no, still booted up. Oh, you know what? I know it's wrong. So for the record, I didn't follow the instructions. It says to power off your ASIAIR, then connect your USB-C cable. I didn't connect my USB-C cable. That's why I didn't go into loader mode. So follow the freaking instructions that I put on the screen so you know what the hell you're doing, and you'll be able to do this flawlessly. I have a USB cable here that I can't get in the screen. I'm trying to pull it. There it is. Okay, so I've got a USB cable. You want to plug in the USB cable first. Then we're going to hold down that the reset button and then power it up. And then at that point, the lights will be solid in loader mode. So in here, we're going to go back to our script and we're just going to hit enter, and it's going to detect the device. And then we should get VMware. There's a pop-up that came up that says, do you want to connect to the virtual machine? Yes. There we go. And now, let's try it again. Okay, now detected it. So again, you have to, it's a little tricky because I'm recording my screen here. So essentially what it does is it finds the device, and then essentially now we're replacing the image on the device. So essentially at this point, it's going to go ahead and just replace the operating system with our new Debian operating system. And then what I'll do is I'll go ahead and SSH into it and just kind of show you what it looks like real quick. And then essentially at that point, when you're all set up, you can essentially install anything. So I'll show you a couple different softwares that we can install. So I'll let this do its thing. It takes a minute to write because it's essentially a 4 gig partition. So it got done and it rebooted our Rockchip. So in here we can see all the power ports are coming up, and essentially the network light is lit on the back. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and just minimize my VM, and then I'm going to bring in MOBA external because again I'm on Windows. So we're just going to go to Tools. We're going to go to Network Scanner. Let me bring up the network scanner. We're going to go ahead and scan the network, and there's the Astro LAN. So we'll click on that. Let me just bring that back up. So in here, the username is going to be Astro. Try to keep this real simple. And once it comes up, it's going to ask us to accept the connection. And then we're going to go ahead and type in Astro again. And we'll accept the password. And essentially at this point, we're connected to our Rockchip. In here, you can see that it's running Linux Astro version 4.19219. That is the kernel that ZWO released with this Rockchip in particular. So essentially, all we did is we replaced the P7 partition, which is the operating system, and then replaced that operating system with the Astro, the OpenAstro Linux Debian version. So essentially in here, everything works as expected. You can plug in stuff. So example, I have a camera right here. This is the series, I guess, series, I don't know, C-E-R-E-S, series, I don't know, series 462 player one camera. So got it right here. I'm gonna go ahead and just plug it into our ASIAIR Plus. So go ahead and connect it. And then
didn't get that. Could you try again?
Oh my God, Siri, you're terrible. I just got flamed by Siri. Okay, so in here, because Siri's and Siri, oh my God, that she did it again. That's fun. Stop it, iPhone. Okay, in here we're oh my God, that's so funny. In here we're just gonna do an LS USB, and then in here you're gonna see the player one camera. All right, so we basically got everything done and completed. You can install multiple applications. Again, some of those are Alpaca Bridge, Astroberry, Indy, Indigo. There's a lot of different things. All you have to do is just do a Google search for the APT repositories for these different types of software, and you can install it onto the ASIAIR Plus Rockchip as long as you reload the operating system. Read through the whole repository for the RK development. There's information in there on how to restore and bring back your images. Again, I didn't go through that in this video. This is just more of a quick overview so you can get an idea on how to basically open Astro for everybody. So with that, clear skies, and we'll catch you in the next one.